despite life's challenges, we can still find joy and fun by connecting deeply with ourselves. Sharing this journey with you all is my passion, as together we can create a magical and fulfilling life.
Yeah, she decided that she was going to open up a beauty supply, although she had absolutely no money. And within 6 months, they blew up and moved to a location that's about 5,000 square feet.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Build the Life You Love. I'm Dylis, your host, and I'm so excited to go with you on this journey towards spirituality, fulfillment, and abundance. This podcast was previously known as Trailblazers Crafting a Bold Future. And I want to say the podcast has evolved just as I have. After losing my dad early this year, I have experienced a deep transformation. The pain of losing my dad really brought me into a deep place of introspection and a newfound peace at the other side of that pain. And so this shift has grounded me. And I would say I'm at a place where I really no longer feel like I have to constantly strive and prove myself like we humans do. I would say I've finally arrived home. I've arrived home in myself. And now I'm focused on aligning with those who share my values so we can enrich our human experience together. I believe that despite life's challenges, we can still find joy and fun by connecting deeply with ourselves. And so sharing this journey with you all is my passion, as together we can create a magical and fulfilling life. And so, in discussing this rebranding, changing the name from Trailblazers Crafting a Bold Future to Build the Life You Love with my team and some friends, I realized that this new direction truly reflects where I'm at today. So, I'm committed to authenticity like I've always been. I'm also committed to saying no to anything that doesn't serve me and building projects that resonate with my core values. So, Build the Life You Love is more than just a name change, it's a reflection of my own personal journey. And together, we're going to explore how to cultivate a life that aligns with your true self, how you can find fulfillment in every aspect of your own life and build the confidence to live boldly and authentically as well. But this is the meat of the matter. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce a very special guest, Evelyn Nyarko, who embodies this journey of transformation and alignment. She has a powerful story of entrepreneurship, and you are all going to get into it with us and hear some amazing lessons and learnings and all the good stuff that comes with that journey. And so I want to introduce you to my friend Evelyn. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really, really excited to be on here and share my journey. Thank you for having me again.
Yes, I've been looking forward to having this moment with you where we just sit and record, and let other people listen or maybe watch us do our thing. So I've divided this podcast into different sections just to be able to manage the content because I know you're such a powerhouse. And I'm like, how do I structure this in a way that we can get the best out of her and it would be so easy for people to like listen to you and also get as much as they can get from your story and your journey. So I want to start with how me and you met and how the growing friendship that is coming from that as well. We met I think not long ago, about a couple of months ago, sometime in May. And you were part of the production at my recent photo shoot. I was like super stressed for that photo shoot. I probably didn't look it, but I seriously was. And I just was like, oh my goodness, I just want this photo shoot to be amazing. I knew the team was big. I was looking forward to meeting amazing people, but I did not know how amazing these people were gonna be. What was your experience like? Like, did you know that we would sit here today and do this from that? What was it like for you?
Absolutely not. And before I get into that, I just want to say that you were such a pro. You did not look like you were stressing or like you didn't know what you were doing. You just came and you were ready for work and action. So kudos to you. But
Thank you for saying that. That really, I mean, hearing that from you really helps because I didn't feel that way at all. But
yeah,
yeah, thank you so much.
well, that day I had absolutely no expectation, but I was excited to go because I was getting back into the production lane and it was going to be a learning experience for me. So, very, very excited to meet different creatives and network. So, that's the attitude I went with that day.
Yeah, the room was packed with so much creative talent in the house. I mean, you all were amazing. At one point, I just took a step back and I was watching you all do your thing, your attention to detail. Everybody was just amazing. It was one of the most beautiful team that I have worked with that just came together within a couple of hours. It felt like we've been working together forever. It was really, really amazing. And yeah, did you know that we'll be sitting here today doing this from that?
Absolutely not. But I did know that we would go on a journey together.
You did know we would go on a journey together, so you were way ahead of me.
100%. I can't, okay, maybe I didn't know per se, but I did know that I wanted to know more about you.
Oh, I
That
got
makes sense. Yeah.
right. Good. And you for me, my impression about you was just like amazing. Like she's such a powerhouse and she's this quiet force and she can be quiet when she wants to be quiet. I was very intrigued, but super busy the whole day. Everybody was on me doing things and pulling my hair. I was just like, I wanted to get out of there when I was ready. But I'm happy that we connected how we did. And after that, we've been hanging out together. I have a question that I wanted to talk about. We, from my perspective, I know we have so many values that like resonate to each other. What do you think is that one thing that made you feel like we would go on a journey together? Or maybe a
Definitely
couple of things.
a couple of things. The first one is I mean, I had heard about you. I had a brief about you as a client, and just the brief alone intrigued me, right? Because I knew that you were a woman of faith, but you were doing it in your own fashion and your own style and unapologetically. So already I came like, oh, I'm intrigued about this woman. And when I met you and I confronted your all your good energy and your vibes and your team, I was like, there's things that I can learn from this woman, right? And just seeing how focused you were, it kind of like directed the whole shoot. So I was very, very attracted to that. So those are the things.
Yeah, it was, oh my God, we had a moment when I walked in. We had a moment when I met you first. I walked in a very short shorts, right? That was your intro after the brief that you had of me.
Mhm.
And I remember you making your comment of like notice. And in a way, you said you were impressed, but I was like, oh my God. And that's how authentic I walked in with a very short belt short, and I was, yeah, totally focused. You're correct. I think one of my strengths is focus. I focus a lot, but I did not know that my level of focus can be felt like that the way you've just described it. So listening to that as well is really, really it's good to know that it has that level of impact or people can see it, because I don't think that people saw it. But yeah, we met, and I thought our meeting in that moment that day was very interesting. It got me thinking as well. It got me curious and really wanting to know more about you. So
Mm.
you are right. And when I met you, this is my own thoughts as well. When we went out for that dinner, I found that you were such a force. And I think before then we had talked on the phone. I don't remember the question I asked you, but you told me that you're very passionate about making people feel good. I immediately know this girl is someone I want in my life right away. Like those words that you used are
Mm.
very important to me, because I like being happy. I like being joyful.
Mm.
And I would want anybody who makes that their like what their objectives or their values. So when you said you like making people happy, I'm like, okay, she likes making herself happy.
Mm.
And so I like that.
Mm. Mm.
That got me, and then I just couldn't wait for the dinner. And when we met for dinner, your energy, your presence was such a force. I sat in your presence. It was amazing. There was so much resonance. We listened to each other. We shared so deeply on our first meeting, and it was amazing how we went so deep. Just feeling the safety and the comfort of each other's presence continued to really intrigue me. And I was like, yes, I think I want her as a friend.
Mm.
um, which doesn't normally happen. But yeah, I loved that, and I love how powerhouse you are. You're such a great visionary, and that is mirroring back to me like who I am, because that visionary aspect as well, which we're gonna get into it.
Mm.
So before just one more thing on this friendship thing, you already talked about learning a few things. So is there anything that you're learning from the friendship, just from the whole experience of us just growing to know each other? Is there anything that you're learning? You're gonna share, and then I'll share a bit on that too.
Sure. I mean, for a very long time, I've been living by the phrase no new friends, right? Pound hashtag no new friends. But as I've gotten older, and also I've moved from Canada to the UK, it's like, girl, you have no choice. You got to make some new friends, right? And so that was my one objective this summer, because I've been just so busy with business and my personal life and stuff that I haven't really had time to really meet people and engage with them, right? And so that was my objective this summer, is to be open-minded, be open and meet new people. And here you come along, and you, like you said, you're a mirror of myself and my energy. You're just our friendship is a confirmation in myself and my beliefs and my way of thoughts and in my vision. So that's what I'm receiving so far from our friendship.
Absolutely, I would say the same. I'll say the same. It's your values as well. You have very similar values to mine, and I really appreciate that. It makes me resonate as well. I was coming from a place where I also said no. I mean, like you gosh, you kind of get targeted. Like people just, when you have that kind of energy and everyone wants to be part of it, and it's sometimes very exhausting just skimming through to see who is exactly who they say they are, or who. So by that time I was done. I said I'm good with who is in my inner circle, and I don't want none of that until you came along, and I'm like, let me wet my feet, let me go out there and see what this is about. She has a sweet presence, and I've just been taking that in as well, and just enjoying that. It's been very enjoyable.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's get into the meat of it. Let's get into Evelyn. Let's get into the beauty business, a bit of your background. I know that you grew up with your family has been in this industry. You can probably tell us how long. How was it like growing up with this background, and what is beauty business like? What is it though? And what is it like growing up in it?
Ooh, loaded questions, girl. We can go on for days. But yeah, I've been part of the beauty industry from a very young age. I believe 11, no, 11 years old. No, 13 years, since I was 13 years old.
Wow.
Yes, so that's been over, I don't want to give my age, but like, whole lot of decades,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And yeah, my parents are a part of it. They own beauty supply store, salon, barbershop. Um, my mom and dad weren't always entrepreneurial. They had jobs, right? My mom
That's
was
interesting.
my mom was a healthcare worker.
Mhm.
She had 3 jobs before she went into business. My
Wow.
dad at that point, he was working in the hospital, more in the maintenance department.
Wow. Look at
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So my mom was just tired of, because my mom has a really big family back home,
Mm-hmm.
and her immigrating to Canada, that was her whole objective, to take care of her family and pull them out of poverty. And so with that said, all this working and all these different jobs that she had, it just still wasn't enough to really get the family together, right? So I mean, she's a lioness, come on, Ghanaian queen, a fighter.
Hello, she gave birth to Evelyn, this powerhouse. Like, yeah.
And she's way more superior and more powerful than me. She's amazing.
Wow.
But yeah, so I guess one day she was just tired of it, and she was seeing that we moved into a new city called Ottawa, Ontario, the capital of Canada, a very small city, and there wasn't a lot of places for us to have access to our kind of products, right?
Wow.
And my mom just always, obviously, she had 2 daughters and a son. She just always loved to, do hair, change hair. That was always a thing that I can remember from I was a child, right? And so, yeah, she decided that she was going to open up a beauty supply, although she had absolutely no money. And
That is one big
right.
dream. Yeah.
And my dad was really, really against it, but she has her own mind and her own thoughts. And she went, and she was actually selling African cloths for my auntie, who, rest in peace, she was living in Holland, and she would send my mom all these like wax prints,
Right.
and my mom would sell it for her. And she would send the money to her, but then my aunt was like, no, 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 this is small money. Keep stacking up all that money and give it to me in a lump sum. Okay.
Wow.
So my mom had sold a lot over the years. And remember, this is like about 30 years ago. So she had saved 15,000 from that. And that
That
was
is
big
where the
money back then.
entrepreneurial spirit came from. So
Correct.
through that, she was developing the entrepreneurial spirit, isn't it?
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And she took this money and she opened up the shop, very, very small, about 500 square feet. And it had the products in the front and 2 hairdressers in the back. And within 6 months, they blew up and moved to a location that's about 5,000 square feet.
Wow. That is
Right.
bro.
So it's been blast off from that point.
Wow.
Right.
So growing up in that, would you say you understood the transition from when they were like they had a job to becoming financially free? And I mean, maybe not even at that time, but it doesn't sound like they had a bit of difficulties though, because it really grew fast. It's
Oh
like,
no, there's still a lot of difficulties in the background, right? Just like, actually, business is very difficult when it's scaling really, really quickly, right?
right.
You have to run alongside it. You have to bring
Mhm.
in a team and have enough product to supply your demand and all that stuff. So I don't really know, because I was younger, but I could imagine that it was not as easy as we think it would be. But I didn't really realize what was going on, right? I didn't know that we were moving in the direction of financial freedom.
Mhm.
My parents are very, very humble people, and they always kept us grounded and humble and working hard. So we were working within the business. We did not know, our environment didn't change much, right? We were just all working every single day, building this thing. So I hadn't measured where it's gotten as far as what's it called, monetization. I just didn't know. And I didn't know until maybe I was in my, I think about 18 years old. One of my friends are like, you know, your parents are really successful. I was like, huh? Success? What are you guys talking about? Did not know. Just because my
So,
parents are really humble. They're not the type to go splurge their money, buy bigger houses, no, everything was still the same.
wow, that's what I was gonna ask you. Like, what would you say made you not really know? Was it because of the word that you guys had in the back end, how hard you guys worked, or just the fact that your parents were humble as well on top of that? Which
I think the humbleness is the biggest aspect here, right? And yeah, they don't believe in, they're frugal as well, right?
Mhm.
So all that kind of stuff, just they created this bubble that never changed for us, right? Like no matter what was happening
Mhm.
outside of this bubble,
Yeah.
we were still the same.
Yes. That takes a lot of discipline. Is that something you think it's easy for people who like are successful to do? Because it's easy to just want to splash and spoil. And how did you wait? At what point did you think, hey, we need a bit of splash as a child and didn't get it? Or like, where did your mindset start clashing with them in terms of that concept of them staying humble despite their level of success?
I think around the time when my friend had told me, hey, you know, your parents are successful, then it was like, wait, why do we still live in this house? Can we get a bigger house? My parents, my dad would be like, oh, we don't need a bigger house. This is all you need. And I was like, come on, sir, we could do better than this. And he was like, no. And he actually taught me a financial lesson really earlier on, that a lot of people are living outside of their means, right? And just because you're growing financially, well, now I'm using this language, but it wasn't told to me like that. But like, yeah, now just because things are happening outside of our bubble, it doesn't mean that we have to start living to reflect that,
Yeah.
right? A lot of people have a hope of a false sense of success, right? They attain, they link it with material all the time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh,
True.
I just got a raise. Let me get a bigger house.
Right.
Oh, I'm moving departments. Let me get a new car,
Right.
right? They shouldn't go hand in hand,
Yeah.
right? You should feel that success within yourself
Mhm.
and within your mind.
Mhm. You should feel the peace. You should feel the joy. You should feel your relationship with your children flourishing, not immediately wanting to buy a house to make your children happy. No, they were thinking about, are they passing on the values to their kids, and are we closer to each other? Are we really a good family unit and helping other people as well? So I can totally, those were great values, and I think I do see those values in you. So it kind of worked. Did you end up like, when did you end up catching up with those values in terms of your parents, and how, when did you say, okay, I think I'm getting what you guys are doing. It's a good thing.
Last month, last week, a few days ago, an hour ago, right? I'm just really understanding my parents' strategy right now, and definitely going forward, really applying it to my life. Yeah.
So it sounds to me like your parents have been your greatest teachers in a way.
100%. Both my mom and my dad give me different values. Like my dad is a brainiac. He's a very, very intelligent man. The way he uses his brain and the way he relates to people, and his he's a very humble man, very kind man, very, very patient. All that kind of stuff I get from my father. And then my mom, she's very fiery. She's fearless. She's a visionary. She has foresight. She's not afraid to say it how it is. And I get that from her as well. So it's a great mashup.
It is a great mashup. I mean, you need it now in life, isn't it? Especially with today's world, everything going. I think this generation, we're looking for values like that. We tend to have lost many of those values along the way, and many young people are looking for pillars or values or principles that can make them feel grounded and that they can use those to build their lives on. And I think you're getting ready to share even a bit more in this next couple of questions, which I think our listeners would really benefit from. So along the way, when growing up in all of this beautiful entrepreneurial atmosphere, you're taking it all in. Um, you got inspired to do something amazing.
Yes,
Open up your own business. So tell
correct.
us about that.
Yeah, so throughout all this, yeah, I was inspired by my parents to go out and kind of do it my way.
Mm.
And so I opened a beauty supply called Crowned. And the concept was that, because throughout the years, I noticed that more and more different cultures were tapping in to the Black hair culture, right? And they would go to places like my parents' shop and other beauty supply stores, and maybe the customer service and things of that nature wasn't there to really adapt to these kind of clients, right? So my whole thing was that I wanted Crowned to bring Black culture and present it to different cultures in a way that they could digest it.
Right. Get you. So you're thinking of repackaging the Black culture and shipping to different cultures that interact with it in a way that would portray excellence, whatever our Black culture carries, but make it more digestible and on the things that make it a way they can relate to it easily. Was that
Correct.
what? Okay.
Correct.
That's really
And
good.
yeah, and fast forward, I feel like I was really ahead of myself because just the other day I was at the store called Urban Outfitters,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed that they had created their own brand of edge control stick.
Okay.
Okay. And their own brand of like little edge brushes and things that are really from the Black beauty culture are now being repackaged and sold to other cultures.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That is very interesting. You found your little niche, you found your spot, what Crown was going to be doing, who Crown was going to be, what Crown was going to be. And yeah, so tell us about the journey. How was it, that experience being the ultimate boss of bosses?
Well, that experience had valleys and peaks,
Right.
right? First of all, I started this business with a lot of hope
Mm-hmm.
and very little capital, by the way, and a lot of contacts. So because my parents have been in the game, I had a lot of like suppliers and wholesalers who were able to support this business that I was building. But I never started it at that point with enough capital.
Right.
So it was a real, like I was popular. I had great clientele. The message was being received, but it was hard, right? Overheads are expensive and all that kind of stuff. So my first location closed down.
Wow.
Then, and also that mainly due to signing a bad deal with a landlord who 6 months into being in my location decided to start the biggest construction project of life, like defacing the whole shop and making it almost, it was looked like a crime scene for a long time, right? So he went to court with him, lost because unfortunately commercial landlords have more rights than the tenants. So went through that experience, then moved to my second location on Queen Street. And by the way, all my locations were in, because typically Black beauty supplies are in Black areas, right? So I would put my locations in fashion locations because hair and beauty, it is fashion,
Right.
right? So now my second location, I didn't know what to do. I had a lot of clients, I had a lot of buzz. Now I need to get into somewhere. So I ended up sharing a space with a jewelry store and a piercer. And he took me in, all for him to breach his lease by bringing me in. So we both were kicked out.
Wow.
Yes. So the landlord did not renew his lease because he had breached it by bringing me in on a sublease.
Wow.
And the landlord was like, you could stay if you want, but he has to go. But I couldn't afford to stay by myself.
Yeah.
So off I went. Now I'm like, I want to keep going.
Right.
So went into my third location. Now, that was all cool, but by the third, I was really, really, really exhausted and drained. And I wish I would have recognized that at that point. Right. But had a great landlord. Everything was all good there. It's just, I was burnt out. I was finished.
Yeah.
And God had told me.
Did you have a great team? Tell me about the team. How was your team during this time when you're moving locations? Were they helpful?
Absolutely. God always sent to me people to help me.
Right.
Like strangers.
Right.
Who've become family now. We're always there to support me and be a helping hand and put in hours. And I've just always been blessed in that department. And all those people, you know who you are. I don't even have to name your name, right? So yeah, I've always had the support. Always.
It makes a lot of difference. And we're gonna talk about that later part of this podcast. Okay, so you open one. You want to talk about the one in the
Sure, of course. But I didn't stop there. Remember, third location. Now I closed that down because I was just exhausted and just couldn't go on no more. So I moved back home to my parents' house during the pandemic. And at this point, I'm like, I don't know if I want to go back into hair. I've had so many literal trials and tribulations. Right? So I'm like, I'm not sure if this is my bag anymore. And I'm just exhausted and I'm depleted. So after a lot of thinking, I realized, you know what, this is what I want to do again.
Wow.
So I went back in, signed the lease, and then we went into lockdown. So I couldn't get out of this lease.
Wow.
So for 8 months, I was paying rent because in Canada, we were locked down for that long without getting to operate.
Wow.
And on top of that, inflation hit us, right?
Yes.
So I had a certain budget for the project, but now when the new budget kicks in, it's like, oh no, everything's 3 times as more. Wood now costs 3 times the price.
Yes.
What? Well, I have to use wood throughout this whole project. So, I'm screwed. There goes my budget again. So I had completely depleted my budget to the point where I had to get a job on film to help me bring in more income.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I started working on film sets. But either way, opened that and then realized that, wait, I don't want to live in Ottawa. I don't want to be stuck here. This is my hometown. I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I love my hometown. Shout out to Ottawa, but I just feel like I need to stretch my arms more. There's a whole big world out there, right?
So what made you feel that way? Did you feel like you needed to breathe? What brought you to that point where you thought you wanted to like spread your wings beyond your hometown?
I think it was after being on the film set.
Okay.
And really realizing that, oh my God, like this is cool and all, but I feel like I could really, I don't know, the world is big. That's just what that experience made me realize, that the world is big and I can really stretch my arms. And yeah. And I always wanted to move from Canada. And I realized, oh my God, I've been saying this for 18 years now, and I haven't done it. Like it hit me one day. I was like, look at all this time that has passed by and you haven't done anything about it. All you've done is talk about it. And all you've done is move from city to city in Canada. So it's that time. And I happened to reunite with this amazing man, and he happened to live in the UK.
Yes.
And it was an absolute no-brainer for me. Like, as soon as we reconnected, I was like, you know what? I want to move to the UK and explore this connection and see where it's going to take me and it's going to go. And within 3 months, I was out. I was done.
You were ready.
I was ready. Had a great team. They were taking care of things. And yeah, I moved to the UK.
So
And
you moved to the UK. How did you find it in the UK? Did you come to the UK? What were you coming purposefully for the connection, or you had business in mind as well?
at that point, no business in mind, because remember, I have a location running in Ottawa, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I just came to explore the connection and explore the idea of moving away from Canada.
Hmm.
And yeah,
So currently, you're joining me on this podcast from the
London, England.
from London, England. So it means the connection is going well.
Yes.
And so, what else have you been up to while you've been in the UK?
Well, after 3 months, I got really, really, really bored. I wouldn't say bored. That's the wrong thing to use. Just because a woman like myself, she needs to be on the
You're a
go,
visionary.
right?
You're a visionary. So you have
Visionary.
lots and lots of like things coming to mind and
Correct.
energy.
So I decided to open a second location in Camden. Yep. And so I had two going at the same time, and it was going good until the economy decided to disintegrate.
Wait, let me ask you a question. Like, I just found it so interesting that of all the things that you thought you would do while you're here in the UK, exploring a connection and maybe having some time in your hands to do one or two things, you thought you wanted to run a business here. That's interesting. I know you're wired, you're an entrepreneur in your blood. But were there no other things that you could have explored that would have been, there were, right? So why did you just zoom down to business, building a business here as well? I want to know that thought process and how you
Okay.
selected.
So first of all, Crowned, I wanted it to be international. I wanted to have
Okay.
locations all over the world. So I
Mhm.
wanted to have Crowned Toronto, Crowned London, Crowned Ghana. So that was my idea from a very long time ago. I can even find a tweet back to 2016 where I said, one day I'm going to open Crowned London.
Wow,
Okay.
okay.
So that idea was always out there, right? But when I got here, like I said, I got a little bored.
Mhm.
And also the Canadian dollars, they weren't translating well in pounds. I'm like, I need to start making some pounds,
Right,
right?
got you.
So really that's what led me to open up. But in hindsight, I really should have just taken a break, taken a breather, explored, um, up my skills. I could have done so many things, volunteer. I could have just done so many things to keep me busy and enrich me,
Mhm.
right? I think that's almost a trauma response, I think. Oh, I'm bored. Let me open a business. It's not really normal.
Well, I mean, for an entrepreneur like yourself, a powerhouse, it's kind of normal. I think people like you build businesses for fun. Yeah, I know
Mm,
a lot of people, and I think I have that as well. I'm just super driven. That's why I see a lot of me in you, and a lot of other people who are like that. You build businesses and different projects for fun. For me, that creativity and doing something new and challenging kind of relaxes me. Believe it or not. So I totally can understand. And so we've had some conversations together where I think you're already hinting, you said trauma response and stuff. You said you had hindsight, you've learned a lot from that entire journey. It was both challenges, but you dealt with the loss and you've gone in within yourself. You are finding out some of the reasons why those things happen. Is that something you want to share with the listeners that they can learn from? Whatever you can
sure.
share, I think it would be helpful.
Sure. I think you keep calling me a visionary, which is an honor. Thank you. But what's a visionary without a clear, concise plan,
Yeah.
right? What's a visionary in someone who's not really understanding themselves to the fullest, right? That's a whole hot mess. You have all these visions with no plan. That's crazy. You have all these visions without really understanding yourself and what you can handle, what you can't handle, what's going to work. That's a hot mess. So I believe that, yeah, I have all these great qualities, but they've all been in the air, right? And to a lot of people, it seems like, oh, she's got it all together. But no, at the core of it, it's been messy for me, right? So yeah, I think that that's one of the biggest lessons is that, okay, girl, you got visions, but you got to have patience, you got to strategize, and you've got to set metrics for your visions, and not just because you feel like, just because you're bored, don't just open a business just because you can, because you have that know-how. The problem with me is that I know how to execute the final vision so well that I skip all the little steps in between. Right? Like, give me a week and an empty location, I'll pop open a business like this. I'll make it happen. Give me a month and I'll do even better. Right? But I have that ability, and it's a good thing. But when it's not used properly with the right tools attached to it, it could be disastrous. Because let's be for real, guys. Listen to my whole journey. I've lost a whole lot of money being impatient.
Wow. Right? That I appreciate you being that vulnerable. And I think people are going to get so much out of these because of your level of vulnerability. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that like I said, that's one of my biggest thing is just not having enough patience, not enough detailed planning. Also, sometimes the vision can be too big. Right? You have to start in phases. That's why you see, I don't know, a building, a whole condominium building being built, and they're doing it in different, phase 1, then phase 2, then phase 3. Right? I'm always operating in phase 3. Right. Well, I used to always operate in phase 3. Now, not no more. No. I'm breaking every single thing down, right? And checking it off, and then moving on to the next one. I think as well, saying that a lot of people don't want to identify with the little small beginnings. I mean, especially today where everybody's a multimillionaire, everybody want to be a millionaire, billionaire. You don't hear a lot of people talking about how to steward those days when nothing is coming into your business. We don't hear a lot of presentation or people in spaces really speaking to people in those places when nothing is happening. How do you manage your business when it's small? When you're in phase 1, how do you manage your business when you are the only one working in that business, when you don't have a team yet, when you can't pay the second person? What kind of relationships do you have with that business at that level? And a lot of us would attach these things to our self-esteem as well. So can you speak into that? Because I feel like that's what you're saying when you like break it down now into different phases, is learning how to really work with each stage so that it builds on top of the other without feeling like you're missing out or you're a failure or you should be already like the person across the street. Or you know what I mean? Like social media influence as well. Everybody on social media is doing well. Everybody on social media is a multi-millionaire, but not so. Those are curated lives and moments of their lives, and it's really not true. So you want to speak into that? I think it would help people to be able to embrace those phases more. Right. You just, number one, you always got to keep it real with yourself. Yeah. That's number one. Number two, numbers don't lie. They never lie. The number is the number. If you're putting in 1 + 1 and it's not giving you 2, you got to cut that off. It's not going to work. Right? So I think that's my biggest lesson as well, is that and the problem with me is that I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm also a creative. Yes. Okay. And oftentimes those two don't really go,
Oh,
right?
true.
Because like an
Okay.
entrepreneur is a numbers person,
Yes.
right? A creative is
A
a creative.
passionate person. Yeah.
Correct. They think that, okay, you gave me three, I'm going to create it into six.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you can, right? But you have to take certain steps to get there, right? So I think that's been my problem. I've been using a lot of creativity and trying to trigger the entrepreneurship, but really, it would be better if you use entrepreneurship to guide the creativity.
That's beautifully said. Oh, wow. That's so good. You want to say that again?
Well, yeah, that was definitely um, a stream of consciousness that just came. So I'll try to repeat it. Um, Basically, I believe the foundation is you have to use your entrepreneurial skills to guide your creativity so that your vision could really manifest and be strong. Because oftentimes, as we know, if you've spoken to any creative, like a painter or a musician, they'll be like, I just like to create. I don't care about the business side. I
Yes.
can't deal with all that. I just want to paint. I just want to buy my canvas, buy my paint, paint it, and people to see it and love the vision, right? Oftentimes, those people, it's really hard. That's why we have the term struggling artists, because
Right.
that entrepreneurship is not working alongside the creativity. Because let's be real, a lot of people don't have that entrepreneurial spirit,
True.
right? And a lot of people don't have a creative spirit.
Right.
So seldom do you have a person that has both. So both those energies flowing through me, it's been really hard for me to get them to communicate.
Yeah.
But I think I'm finding that voice now.
Wow, that is amazing. That is bringing those two together to be friends
Mm,
so they can work together and create magic
mm,
and channel in this abundance and this beautiful life and impact that you're here to make, and everyone else listening, every one of us that's called to really, put these two together. I know that I have that as well.
mm,
I think I was more in touch with my entrepreneurial one first
mm,
before the creative. Is just later on, as I'm allowing myself, I'm able to receive that creative flow. So I'm able to put them, maybe my analytical mind,
mm,
it's helping putting the creative side in place, but we do tend to want to jump off. That creative side has a mind of its own, and it's like, oh my god, I'm passionate, I just want to create this. I don't care about numbers, I don't care how it's going to look like in the next 3 months or 3 years, the sustainability of that, and is it going to be around in 5 years? We're not thinking about that, we just want to create.
mm,
So those are like very good insights that you've shared, and I think it will help a lot of people.
mm.
So you have any more lessons that you want to share with the people?
I just had one. It just escaped my brain. Sorry.
Oh,
It'll come to me. We'll come back
it
to
will. It will
this.
come. You
Yeah.
talked about, I've been really looking forward to talking to you about this as well. You talked about being honest with ourselves. You are one of the realest human that I've met. You are so real with yourself. I don't know if you've stepped into this after the whole experience or this is how you've always been, but it's so inspiring. Like, we recently spent some time together, and it's not just the fact that you said it, that's literally how you are. And so tell me about this value of yours. Why is this value important to you?
I mean,
And you're real to yourself, and you're real to other people as well. That's the beauty of it. So
mm,
yeah, I'm curious, why is this value important to you?
I mean, because I want to grow. I
Yeah,
want to be amazing,
true.
right? I want to have as much data as possible to be able to execute, Jesus Christ, execute,
Yeah,
right? So that's why I find it really, really important to be with myself, to be real with myself. And also, I find, I don't know, a lot of people just always were always complimenting me all the time. Okay. And
Mm.
inside, I'd always have to remind myself that they don't see all the right. I get that they're complimenting me, but Evelyn, always remember that you've been messing up here. You've been here, because I realized that if I would just live off of this compliments, that I would never improve.
Mhm.
Right. And I think also my parents are very real with me. They're always there to remind me, Evelyn, don't
Keep
forget,
you humble.
that's not as good as you think. You could do better, you know? And I appreciate that. It's given me really, really tough skin, because I recognize a lot of people just lie to themselves from the moment, even in their dreams, they're lying to themselves. They just can't stop lying to themselves. And
True.
you cannot grow if you're not honest. It doesn't even matter if I keep it real with you. If you're not real with yourself, you're not receiving anything real. Like, you're living in a bubble that you've created, and it's not realistic. So how are you really supposed to be your best self if you're not even being honest with yourself? There's no way you could be productive at high levels if you're not honest with yourself.
True.
I don't believe in that.
True.
Right. And I just see a lot of adults who just constantly lie to themselves and operate from places of these lies. And you're just like,
When you lie to yourself and then you tend to believe it after a while, isn't it? To be true.
and then imagine operating from this place of a lie
Yeah.
in your daily life. Like, you're affecting a lot of people around you. Now it's not just you not
True.
being real with yourself, you're just infecting the whole world. That's how I feel. So that's why I always make it a reminder to, yeah, it's cool that you're complimenting me and you think I'm great. That's good. I receive it. But also, Evelyn, remember, you have to improve on this. You got to improve on that. You got to work on that. That's where we're at. Recently, I was training with someone, and she had got harsh with me and told me, Evelyn, it's been 4 weeks now and you haven't produced this, da, 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 da. Then she kept apologizing. I'm like, don't apologize. It's okay. No, you're being real. And she's like, oh, I feel bad. It's just that, I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm a different human being. If it's constructive criticism, I want to hear it. I need to know it. I want to study it. I want to see if you're right or you're wrong. If you're right, I am going to apply and fly.
True.
Right. And so she calls me hours later and she's like, I'm really sorry about earlier. And I was like, girl, you do not have to apologize. And I hate that you feel you have to apologize when you're teaching, you're training me. You're supposed to tell me where I'm lacking so that I can be a better student.
Yeah.
No? So here you are. We're in this world where everything's so hush hush. No one wants to offend this person and that person and keep it real with them, because that person doesn't keep it real with themselves. That this poor trainer is apologizing. She wasn't rude. She wasn't disrespectful. She was just direct, precise, and concise.
Wow.
And she felt a need to apologize just because there's a bunch of sensitive, overly sensitive souls walking around who cannot handle the truth because they don't keep it real with themselves. You see what I
Wow.
So that's my thing on being real, and I think that also started when I was young too. A lot of people would compliment, oh, she's so cute, she's so cute. That was a thing. But when you over compliment a child like that, they become
Yes.
a brat, right? They
Yes.
become big-headed egomaniacs. And my
Yes.
mom always, every time they'd walk away, she'd be like, you're not that cute.
I love your mom. Oh
My
my
mom,
goodness.
she's the realest. And I get it. I think that kind of thing has really always kept a second voice in my head to remind me, yeah, that's great what they're saying, but remember to do this too. And with me saying all this, again, it might sound really harsh to the too sensitive, but remember that I also big myself up. I also remind, oh yeah, oh yeah, you did that. That's great. That's amazing. Oh yeah, keep doing that. Oh yeah, you're really good at that. I remind, as much as I hold myself accountable, is as much as I also praise myself.
That's so amazing. That's one thing. I mean, all of what you're saying, I've been with you a couple of times. We've spent long hours together. I see you do it like all the time in conversations. And that's one of the values that I like for myself. I learn from everybody. Like I'm learning from life. I'm learning from this conversation. It's a constant thing. And when I met you and I saw you do that, you were real. Like we're in conversation and you're making note. Like you stop that conversation, you pick up a point from that conversation. You're like, Evelyn, right? Yeah, I need to work on that. And you take that in, and then you join the conversation again, and it's so refreshing to see that level of self accountability, which I think that differentiate, mediocrity from like outstanding or extraordinary. You know what I mean? When we are able to hold ourselves accountable at that level and not just be looking for the compliment, the praise, when we know inwardly that things are not adding up. And so I really admire that about you. And I wanted to talk to us about it today so the listeners can really like benefit. I wanted to ask you, as I was listening to you really elaborately talking about this, a lot of people will not be able to come out of that level of loss. That's a lot of money. That is hundreds and hundreds and, oh my God, of pounds, of dollars. A lot of people would fall with their self-esteem and fall with their self-worth. It would have been their identity. So how were you able to unwrap or differentiate between, oh, that happened, it was the business, it wasn't I'm not that, like at what point did you experience your identity wrapped in that, and then were you able to navigate out of that? What was it for you, and how did you get to this space where you're able to talk about it and look at the past, and you've evolved and you're in this beautiful place, looking forward to new things ahead of you?
That's a great question, actually. And how I can open up before I open this up is say it's always business, it's never personal. That's literally what that saying means, right? So I noticed growing up that my parents and the business, they were one, right? So when you're operating from that place, you're making a lot of emotional decisions, right?
Yeah.
So I learned very quickly that there's Evelyn and then there's a business. Always keep them separate. Okay. They can communicate together, but they are not one person. Okay. So that's how my attitude has always been. But that's easier said than done.
Yes, it is.
Very
You
easy
get
for
passionate,
me.
isn't it? Like you're putting your life into it, you're pouring. How do you take all of that back? How do you call that back
Right.
when it's not what you thought it would be?
Right. So, I mean, one thing about me, I'm like a cat. I have 9 lives. So it's a very easy for me to fall and get back up. Right. That is one of my best qualities, but it's also a very dangerous quality if you don't navigate it properly. Right. So what I've been doing in the past is I've been falling and then getting back up and not analyzing what just really happened.
I love that.
Right. Not learning all the lessons. Right. So now I've also noticed that I didn't notice that the business and me had become one. But now looking back, I noticed that, there has been times when you've just been so caught up that you've been making so many errors because you're operating from an emotional place and not a quantitative place, right? So how I've been able to stand tall is by doing things like this, keeping it real with myself, by giving people advice, by telling people my story so they can learn from it. And my dad told me that. He's like, make sure you share what you've been through. Okay? Because then you're recalling your power and it's not in vain. Okay, fine, Evelyn, you lost X amount of dollars, but if Julie over there, if I could stop her from making that same mistake, I won.
Yes,
I'm
you did.
so satisfied. Everything I went through was not in vain. Like, yes, I've lost a whole lot, but I've learned so much,
Yeah.
right? To this day, I haven't had a successful business, right? But usually you actually hear conversations like this when people have become
True.
the epitome of their success, and then
Right.
they could tell you I had 10 failed businesses, and they don't tell you about how they're feeling within that whole journey. So
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in the middle of that now. I've done all my losses.
Mhm.
I know my next phase is all W's, guys. You guys are gonna see, hear, and feel these wins, boy. Right?
We can't wait, and we're getting ready to ask you that. This conversation is so juicy. I've got a couple of questions. I hope I don't forget. Um, I know that you're very passionate about entrepreneurs that are, and again, this is what we started off by saying. Everybody want to get to the third stage. Nobody talks about the first stage, which is what this podcast episode is really going to help people from your story. What would you say to aspiring entrepreneurs who are visionaries, who are creatives, who have not blended those two energies together, who are afraid? And also, I was talking to one of my friends who is an entrepreneur as well, and he said that a lot of people who launched out after COVID or during COVID are really going through a tough time. A lot of them are losing their business. That's what I heard. I was really shocked because I didn't know, and of course the inflation and everything. What would you say to someone like that who is in that place right now?
First of all, I said the numbers don't lie, right?
Mhm.
If the numbers aren't looking healthy, please, it's okay to close and regroup and come back stronger. You cannot, I mean, in some cases, again, right? Everyone could have a different experience, right? But I truly believe that it's a very hard to outwork a bad market.
Right.
Oftentimes when things are going bad for entrepreneurs, right? You're going to throw more hours at it, more work at it, more
More
strength,
money. Yeah.
more money, more energy, more everything. But sometimes the best thing you could do is
Walk
just
away.
walk away, gracefully bow out. It'll save you so much. And trust me, it's look how many businesses I've popped and opened up. So I know it's easy to open up again,
Yes.
right? So yeah, cut your losses as quick as you can.
Mhm.
Okay. Being a good, I think Jay-Z said this. Jay-Z said, to be a good businessman, you also have to know when to gracefully bow out. That's also a part of being a good entrepreneur.
So good. So good, my friend. You are oozing out the wisdom, I tell you. So we're coming to the end of this beautiful conversation that I didn't want to end. But what is in store for you? What is ahead of you? What are you working on right now? I know you're a very passionate human being. You're never without a project. You always like seeing all these things that how you want to change the world, how you want to change beauty industry and whatnot. So what are you working on? What are you building? It could be in your mind or whatever. What are you doing right now?
Well, my whole thing right now is that I keep saying it and people are like, huh? I'm going digital.
Yes.
So yeah, basically, I'm learning about the digital world in depth, and I want to apply it to all these different businesses and different ideas and different visions and creativity. So I'm just in a learning phase right now. I am learning, and I want to apply it to beauty, to music, and to food as well, and health and wellness, right? So I know this sounds very, very broad, but I'm breaking it down in steps right now. I'm just learning all about digital marketing, digital strategizing, AI, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to come back because my whole thing is that I've had so much overhead because I'm always opening these brick and mortars. And
Yeah.
because I've been in these brick and mortars, it's been very hard for me to focus on online. And a lot of times too, I haven't had the team big enough to be like, hey, I'm focusing on in-store and then I have my online team and this and that. So now I want to absorb the whole entire digital landscape as much as I can. And then I'm going to apply it to all these different areas that I love.
That's beautiful. I think, my goodness me, we better watch out for you because you're coming.
I'm coming.
You are. So I want to ask you, what do you do for fun? What do you do to relax when you're by yourself? What do you do? What do you love doing? I have an idea of what you do, but who knows? You maybe do some other interesting things. And I think the listeners will love to hear what you do to relax. This creativity mind of yours.
I'm really, really a weird person, but I love being in nature, like spending copious amounts of time in nature. To relax, I love looking at real estate and like design projects and I don't know, just stuff like that. I'm into a lot of history, so I love researching on history. I love cooking. What else do I really do to relax? Yeah, cooking, nature, research. Those are the biggest things for me.
Yes, I know you love your nature. You're trying to get me back into it, so we're gonna plan our hiking trip. And you do love cooking. I enjoyed your food. Like I can't even top it, Evelyn. I've been trying to do it. I'm enjoying my air dryer. Right now I'm putting all my protein in there, and I'm like, oh, falling in love back with my air dryer because of Evelyn. So yes, you do love cooking, and you are such a good cook.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for that. I think we've come to the end of our podcast, this episode today. Is there anything you want to say to our listeners before we go?
I want to say, do not be afraid of your greatness. Eliminate any kind of self-sabotaging and keep it real with yourself.
Woo! If anybody would take those 3 things, Evelyn, for this next 6 months of the year, their lives will be changed completely. 100%. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for sharing your amazing story, sharing your heart, your energy with everyone that's going to listen to this. And we love you. I love you so much. And I cannot wait to see how you bring all these amazing things through the digital space again and impact the world and change the world how only you can. It's been an amazing time talking to you and chatting with you. Did you enjoy today?
I really, really did enjoy it. Thank you so much for asking me all these scary questions. You are a great host. I'm loving the rebrand. I think people really need to hear these kind of conversations. People need inspiration these days. They need to see real people inspiring them, not curated people. So I think this is a very, very effective, and people will really be able to relate to you and your energy and what you have to bring.
Wow, thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you to our wonderful listeners for tuning in and following through. I know that you are learning so much. Come back to the episode, listen to it, learn the lesson, the insight, the keys that Evelyn has shared with us so passionately. Share it with your friends, your family, and let everybody know who needs to hear this so that they can be encouraged, they can be hopeful. They can know that they are not the only one that is going through what they're going through, that people have been through it and they are evolving out of it, and they are changing their lives, and they are creating magical experiences for themselves, because those things only come to make us stronger and make us more wiser. And so go ahead and leave a review to this podcast episode, follow, and do all that good stuff with it. Share and send a message on whatever platform you're listening from. Let me know how this episode was helpful to you. Until next time, stay tuned. I cannot wait to see you on our next episode on Build the Life You Love. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Build the Life You Love. I hope you found our conversation inspiring and that it helps you on your journey towards spirituality, abundance, and fulfillment. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with anyone who might benefit from our discussions. Your support helps us reach more people and build a community of individuals committed to living authentically and joyfully. Don't forget to connect with me on social media for more insights and updates. You can find me on Facebook at Dylis and on TikTok at Dylis5. I'd love to hear your thoughts and continue the conversation there with you. For more resources, courses, go check my work out on my website at dylis.com. Until next time, my friend, remember to keep striving to build the life you love. Thank you for being here and see you in our next episode.